Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more r/AmITheButtHole. And if you love a Reddit story, please consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's dive straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Now our first story comes from OK Engineer 1839, who asks, am I the arsehole for not quitting my job because my husband thinks my job isn't important? My sister started a company last year. I was feeling stifled in my last career path and I wanted to do something different. I jumped in with my sister. It meant a massive pay cut and increase in responsibility. We can live comfortably off his income, so we didn't change our lifestyle at all. I am learning new things every day. I love working with my sister. She is smart and talented. There is always a new challenge that we have to solve. I'm doing things that I never imagined I could. The hours are longer, but I love every second of it. We were supposed to go out last week, but I had to cancel because we had an issue with a vendor which needed to be dealt with. I apologized, but he is very upset about it. I've had to prioritize the business a few times before, but he has always been understanding. I usually get back home after he's gone to bed, but he was waiting for me that day. He was stewing and he was really angry. He said I was being an errand girl for my sister and I should realize my own value. He said my job was an absolutely shit deal for our family, as I was gone longer and we made less money. He said he wanted me to quit my job and find something which paid better. I told him that I wouldn't be quitting. I loved what I do and I hated that he is undermining my work. He just stopped arguing with me and said we could talk about it later. I feel like an asshole because this is literally the first time my husband is this angry and bitter. I've never seen him this upset. He is being very withdrawn and he is purposely working longer hours so we don't really see each other. I feel like I fucked up here. My husband is upset and hurt and I don't want to quit at all. Now, I got to say, and it may be a controversial one on this, that I do feel like it's a you're the arsehole in this situation. And I'm only coming from that aspect because the husband is not currently happy with how things are panning out. And you said in one of your lines, we can live comfortably off his income so we didn't change our lifestyle at all. And whilst I know you're only talking about money in that situation, it has changed your lifestyle in a number of other ways, that you're working much longer hours so you're not seeing your husband as much. And you ain't earning as much anyway, so you are losing family money in some ways. And I get it, you know, if you're in a shit job and you get to a new job that you really love and you want to put all your hours into, it's absolutely fine. But this has come as a sacrifice to money and to time towards your family. And I've been looking in like OP's comments to see if there's any further information about what job this is, mainly because I want to know if they're, you know, you're putting all these hours in now, at some point down the line will it come to fruition, and you know, will you get pay rises, we get this extra money, less time, etc, etc, because I think that may change things up a little bit, but unfortunately none of that was there. So I will stick with a you're the arsehole for the time being. And I totally get it as well, you know, when you're in a shit job and you find something that you really want to do, but I will stick with a you're the arsehole. Redder83 says, oh boy, do you want to stay married? He is upset that you're working more hours and bringing in less money. That is a very valid complaint from a partner. Basically, you are sacrificing your relationship time and not exchanging it for any benefit. Less money is also less comfort and time in the future. What you are doing with your sister makes you feel great, but that is 100% for you, not your relationship. First off, this is your sister's company. You're working all those extra underpaid hours to benefit her. You should be a partner or work a reasonable amount for what you are paid. But you definitely need to stop pretending that your husband is unreasonable for wanting a marriage. You're the arsehole. The Cruller replies that saying, I really wanted to be on OP's side because I love when people find something they're passionate about that is fulfilling on so many levels. I wanted to say her husband was a controlling, unreasonable dick, but I can't. It sounds like he's been accommodating and reasonable, probably hoping things would level out and get less crazy, or the sister would recognize OP's contributions with increased pay or a percentage of the company or a plan for those things to happen. But nope, she's given all her time to a job for crappy pay and is making no effort to find a work-life balance and show she actually values her marriage as much as her enjoyment of her new job. I really want people to find their passions and love their jobs, but it's not unreasonable for your family to want to see you and spend a normal amount of time with you. You're the arsehole. MM172 says info and quotes, "We can live comfortably off his income." Then says, "Are you sure about that? Because the fact that he's working long hours suggests that maybe things aren't as secure as you think. Or even if you're not struggling to pay the bills, your change of career means there are going to have to be major adjustments to long-term plans he was counting on. And even if your savings account's doing fine, there's a mental and emotional cost that comes with knowing that if something happened to your job tomorrow, there's no way your spouse can just step in and pick up the slack. Anyway, it does sound like you two really need to make time for that conversation. Maybe he's just huffy about you having priorities that aren't him and handling it really badly. Maybe he genuinely does think your sister needs to be paying you more for the amount of work you're putting in. Or maybe he's under other stresses and not expressing those well. But you're not going to know until you talk it out, so find out when you can do that. Hooked on Phone says, "You're the arsehole. I asked for some additional information from you that would perhaps indicate that you've made any effort to consider the negative impact of what you are doing, but you couldn't be bothered to answer that or anyone else's questions or feedback. Your husband explained why he's upset with you. You also explained why you're being unreasonable and quotes, I've had to prioritize the business a few times before, but he has always been understanding, and quotes again saying, I usually come home after he's gone to bed. Then goes on to say, that's not occasionally prioritizing your work. You love your job and that's great, but you are primarily focusing on your job at the expense of your family and work-life balance and marriage. Then quotes, he said that my job was an absolute shit deal for our family as I was gone longer and we made less money. Then goes on to say, he's upset because of these statements, not because he thinks your job is unimportant. The fact that you've deliberately mischaracterized your husband so that you can pretend that he's a bad guy here speaks volumes. Although your husband earns enough to support you both, you made the decision to stop contributing without his input. Maybe he doesn't want to support a non-contributing spouse who doesn't at least have the courtesy to be home on occasion. He's not asking you to quit. He's certainly not ordering you to quit. He's asking that you stop treating him like an obstacle and at least pretend like you care about him or your marriage. Not Twitchy says info. I almost hate to ask, but the phrase started a company with no other information sets off alarm bells for me. Did your sister actually start her own small business, or is this an MLM? Ring the alarm bells. It's MLM time, guys. That would turn this story from am I the arsehole to r/no sleep. I couldn't imagine someone quitting a full-time job to go to an MLM. Holy moly. And one more from Judge Jed 100 who says you're the arsehole, so you took a job with more hours and less money, meaning you're basically living comfortably off your husband's income, but he gets to see you less. That doesn't seem all that fair. So now we're at the point where we turn it to you guys. What would you do if you found yourself in this situation? If you was the husband, how would you feel about that? Would you feel hard done by? Do you think it's fair that OP has found a job that they love at possibly the sacrifice of more time and less money? Although they're still comfortable apparently. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from No Yogurt Closet 9610 who asks, am I the arsehole for borrowing some money from my wife's savings account? My wife and I have joined finances, but she has a savings account her grandpa set up for her before he passed. It's around 40k in savings. We both work IT jobs and get paid fairly well. I want to note that we do not live in America, so wages differ. She stated to me that money are either for an emergency or in case we plan on buying our own house. She said that in case I need money for an emergency, I'm allowed to use. I also have access to the account, but so far I didn't use anything. 2 months ago, my sister asked me to lend her 5k because she wanted to pay for a wedding dress, but her card had expired and kept declining. I lent her 5k, but since I didn't have the full amount of my own paycheck, I borrowed money from my wife's savings. My sister said she'd pay me back once her new card was ready, which would be less than 2 days. I didn't tell my wife this because I'd replaced the money in 2 days. It's been 2 months now, and my sister is putting off giving back the money she borrowed. She keeps finding excuses on why she can give it back every time. My wife hasn't checked the savings account in ages, but what if she happens to check it and she figures out 5k is missing? My best friend says I should be honest with her and I should accept the consequences of my own actions for not notifying my wife and not letting her know about the money missing. Am I the arsehole? I feel very guilty for this and for trusting my sister. Let's start off with saying that a wedding dress is not an emergency. A 5k wedding dress is not an emergency. Hopefully we can all agree on that one. But also that A discussion should have taken place before you lent the money out, and I think it's as simple as that. If you both agreed that money could be lent to sister, then fair play, but this wasn't an emergency to take money out of that emergency fund to give to your sister, and the fact that she ain't paying it back, just, oh my word. And was this sister's card really expired, or was it just, there was not enough money in the account? That's why she turned to you. And now you're being strung along. Possibly a bit of a reach, but, the signs are there at the moment. And I think your best friend's right here. You need to own up to your actions. You need to speak to your wife ASAP about what's gone down and then decide what to do from there. I'm not sure if anything legally can happen. You've lent this money to your sister. She needs to pay it back in some form. And we've seen it time and time again. One spouse taking money from the other's account to give to their family. And why? Why would you not discuss it first? So you're going to be an arsehole to me in this situation. But Glitter Sparkle Divine says, your sister not being able to afford a wedding dress is not an emergency. You were scammed. Her bank would have sent her a new debit card the beginning of the month it expires, not wait to send one after it expires. You're not getting that money back, and you'll probably never get your wife's trust back either. You're the arsehole. Merwin15 replies to that one saying, my dress was less than $500 and is from a very well-known wedding shop. $5K on a wedding dress that you will only wear once is egregious. OP was naive and now owes that money back. OP, you're the arsehole. Tell your wife, apologize, and ask about a reimbursement plan to put that money back. If I was your wife, I would remove you from being able to use that account that money is in. You cannot be entrusted with proper decision making. Teresa says, you're the arsehole. You need to tell your wife and start repaying the amount you took immediately. You need to start getting your sister to repay you small amounts if possible, and now you need to realize that your sister is tapped out. You should never lend her money again. JKelsey84 says, you're the arsehole. Not only is paying for a wedding dress not an emergency, you didn't even give your wife the chance to decide if that money should be used in this way. This was not a situation where you didn't have the time to talk to her first before lending the money. Also, never lend money you expect back, especially from family. Add that you've continued to hide it for months. I'd remove your access to that account immediately. You've shown that you can't be trusted. Totally Thrown Away says, I'd divorce you over this. A wedding dress is not an emergency. Your sister's card wasn't expired. It declined because she couldn't afford the dress, couldn't afford to pay you back. This isn't card issue but a living beyond her means problem. And quotes, but her card had expired and kept declining. This says no shit because she can't afford it. Honestly, you either need to demand the money back from your sister with her selling the dress and then a payment plan you the rest. And then of course you tell your wife and see if she wants to take your sister to small claims court for the money. Either way, you messed up big time. This was not an emergency. Your sister had no intention of paying you back and never will. And one more from Do the Pingu who says, you're the arsehole. First of all, this wasn't an emergency. Second of all, you need to replace that money with $5K of your own. I would replace it and then tell your wife what happened. Just be honest and say you made a bad judgment about what constitutes an emergency and you repaid her with your own money and you were sorry. Now, what do you guys make of this one? I think it has to be a you're the arsehole in this situation. But is there a way to recoup this money, or do you think it's actually gone? Do you think the sister will ever give it back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from 55 mile per hour who says, am I the arsehole for making my sick husband walk home after he threw my registrations out the window? My female 32 husband, male 30, is prone to accidents. He gets injured easily due to not being careful with what he does. He used to drive but he totaled his car same time this past year. His recent injury was a severely damaged wrist. He called me to take him to the hospital because he was feeling so much pain, and yeah, he's the type that can't deal with the slightest amount of discomfort, and that stems from childhood traumas. I took him in my car to the hospital and he has his wrist looked at and treated by the doctor. When we were in the car on our way home, he kept huffing and puffing, complaining about the pain, though he was already given medication. He started commenting on my driving, telling me to go left or right, then point out how terrible my turns were, etc. I was getting annoyed, but I decided to ignore him and turn the radio on. He then told me he hated this singer and I needed to change the station or turn the radio off, but I refused since this is my favourite song and asked him to respect me as the driver, but he insisted and turned the radio off, but I turned it back on and told him to knock it off and respect the driver. He reached out to the glove compartment and pulled out my registrations and rolled down the window and threw them out. I was freaking out, asking what the fuck he was doing, and he kept saying I caused him to do this and I could get them replaced later. I immediately pulled over and yelled at him to get out my car. He was looking at me asking if I was serious and pointed out how far we were from home, and he had no money for a cab, but I said it wasn't my problem and argued with him for a few minutes as he went on about how sick and unwell he was and he couldn't walk this distance home. He eventually got out of the car and I turned around to go look for my registrations and luckily found them, so no damages were done there, but I was still shaken up from the whole thing. He got home at 11 PM and started arguing about how I made him walk home knowing he was sick. He threw up a couple of times on the way and explained that I could have turned off that stupid song since he was feeling intense pain and I clearly had no regard for his feelings. I said what he did was not right even if he was in pain and wasn't being rational. He insisted that I viciously got him out the car in his lowest moments and he said now he's afraid of being sick around me since this is how I treat him when he's incapable of fending for himself. He basically stopped talking to me after that and told his family what I did, and they've all been eyeing me saying I have anger issues and no empathy. Info: there's a question about the type of medication he was given and I'm not sure, but it was mostly to relieve the pain. And also for anyone curious, the song that was on the radio was a Christmas song called This Christmas, and he doesn't like it one bit. It's one of my favourites. I think there's a few artists that released a Christmas song called This Christmas, but I'm going to assume it's the Donny Hathaway one. And this Christmas. God, stop, Mark, stop. Don't get started. Now, I'm just going to go along with that. It wasn't the medication playing a part in this, so you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong in this one. But it seemed like crazy level behavior to me. Getting in the car and because the songs on the radio that he doesn't like, he gets your registration and throws it out the window and then tells you it's your fault. Yeah, huge red flags, absolutely. So I think it will be a not the arsehole from me, unless you guys can give me some extra information about those medications. Obviously we don't know exactly what medication it is, so I can't find out. But I was looking in OP's comments to see if they replied to anyone, and there was a couple of questions they did reply to. One was from GuLupsi890 who says, info, is your husband sensitive to pain medication and was he given anything in the hospital? I have a few family members who are very sensitive to pain medication and turn into complete monsters when they're on anything. I'm just asking because you say he got sick, which makes me think he may have a sensitivity. To which OP replies saying, he was given pain relief, and yes, I understand what you're saying, but his problem has always been with medication not giving instant effect. He at some point abused his medication from a previous injury, and it caused issues. To which Flimsy Aardvark 9586 replied to that saying, you say he previously abused pain meds. I obviously don't see what is going on at your house, but I'm wondering if he is really sensitive to pain or is blowing it out of proportion in the hopes that he gets better pain meds. Then when that doesn't happen, he lashes out. No need to reply, just might be something to consider. To which Timebomb666 replies to that saying, exactly this. I am a recovered heroin addict and I've been clean since 2013. Your husband sounds like he is drug seeking and lashing out when he doesn't get what he wants. He probably is sensitive to pain because opiate addiction has skewed his reaction to pain, so any discomfort feels worse. He needs to get into treatment like yesterday. His treatment of you will only get worse the longer this goes on. If you need any help with finding your husband help in your area, please feel free to DM me. From the sounds of this, your husband needs help, not the arsehole. And then OP replied to a comment from JP Cool, and JP Cool asked, yes you are, the arsehole I assume. He may act like a spoiled brat and do something stupid, so yeah, kick him out. But you drive down the block, wait 5 minutes, and then go back and pick his ass up. OP replied to that saying, you're probably right, but I was so worried about my registrations and had to turn around and look for them, and luckily I found them with no damage done. And we have a couple more comments, one from Music with Rocks in who says, this isn't just a red flag, this is a bright red bat signal lighting up the night sky. Anytime a dude harms you or your stuff and says, you made me do that, you need to leave that relationship. He did it because he chose to do it, because he wants to punish you and control your behavior. This is abuse. Run, do not walk out the house and find someone to stay with. He has decided he can punish you because he is in pain and that he's going to punish you when you don't do exactly what you want him to do. He's going to lie to everyone about what happened. You cannot salvage the situation. Leave. The kind of person who decides to treat their partner like that is garbage. Do not stay with garbage. Edit. OP, if you are still not sold that this guy cannot be salvaged, you need to read A Gift of Fear. Shelbalba64205 says, oh my god, he needs to grow the hell up. He decided to punish you for not obeying him by throwing your registrations out the window, then decided that this was your fault instead of taking accountability. Not the arsehole, start divorce proceedings. He's not going to change and there won't be a therapist who can help him. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What do you think about the extra info? There was a couple more comments talking about the addiction to pain medication. Do you think that could be the case as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Fleets MYK, who says, am I the arsehole for using a diamond from my girlfriend's family heirloom for her engagement ring? My girlfriend, 22 female, and I, 24 male, have been together for about 3 years, and I decided around 5 months ago that I wanted to propose. We share a dog and a home, so it seemed like the next logical step. She's hugely into jewelry, so I wanted to get her a really sentimental ring. At the end of September, her grandma suddenly passed away, and as my girlfriend was the only granddaughter, she was passed down her wedding ring. Her and her grandma were extremely close, so I decided to ask her mum, her grandma was her dad's mum, if she thought it'd be a good idea for me to use one of the diamonds in the ring for my girlfriend's engagement ring. She told me that as much as she loved the idea. She didn't know if my girlfriend would, and so told me to think about it. I couldn't find anything else I liked as much. My girlfriend didn't wear the ring and she was worried about losing it, so kept it in a box in a drawer, making it easy for me to take without her realizing. It ended up being a beautiful ring, and I thought she'd absolutely love the sentiment of it. Well, I proposed. She said yes immediately and was absolutely elated, until she saw the ring. She told me I'd practically vandalized and ruined the only meaningful thing of her grandma's that she had and that I should have asked. I went to her mum for support, but she kept saying she warned me that my girlfriend might not like the idea. She said yes to my proposal, but refuses to wear the ring, which I just think is disrespectful considering how much money and thought went into it. Am I the arsehole? Oh dearie me. Kind of just itching my head on this one thinking, what made you think it was a good idea to take apart, an heirloom, something that was passed on, a memory that she didn't even want to wear herself, she kept in a box, it was so precious to her, and you thought it'd be a good idea to take the diamond out of it and put it into a new ring. And then at the very end, you double down instead of realizing, yeah, I've really messed up here, I'm so sorry, I will try to get this fixed as best as I possibly can. You double down and saying, it's disrespectful for her to not wear the ring. Holy moly times 2. So yes, you're the arsehole to me. Again, there's a lot of arseholes in this one today. Damn Dutchman says, seriously, you're the arsehole. How dense can you be? You destroyed a family heirloom and you seriously thought she'd love that. You destroyed her one family heirloom because you were too lazy or broke to go buy a diamond yourself. That ring was a final gift from her grandmother. She doesn't have to wear it daily for it to be sentimental, and her grandmother passed away just a few months ago. Fuck, even her mum said no, as she wouldn't like it. You were disrespectful and stole her property, and then had it destroyed. But I did it for you, babe, is no excuse. You fucked up. Have her grandmother's ring repaired ASAP, then offer to go ring shopping with her for an engagement ring or buy a different diamond/stone for her ring. And I found there was only one comment from OP. I went into their comment search history to try and find something. There's only one real relevant one. A lot of the comments from OP were saying, I thought she would like it, blah, 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 because it was sentimental to her, etc. But Empress Jaina Solo says, may I ask why? Her mum wasn't positive and actually thought it wouldn't be a good idea. Why did you think otherwise? Why not check? Because the surprise was not just important, but more important than getting it right. OP replied saying, because I think if her mum knew my girlfriend would be 100% dead set against it, she should have told me explicitly not to do it. She didn't do that. And then I think it's just one of those situations where you got to use your own noggin, and you know her pretty well as well at this point, I hope so anyway, because you're proposing to her. And step back and think, do you think my girlfriend would really like this? Taking apart an heirloom that, again, she stored in a box because she didn't want it damaged or lost. Come on now. And Miss Big Deal says, you're the arsehole. You took something that wasn't yours and changed it, and now expect her to like it. You were disrespectful to your girlfriend. You were lucky she didn't say no. You should have proposed with no ring and then asked her if she wanted to use her grandma's ring or a modified ring or a new one. Also, how much cash could it cost if you took the diamond? Pointed out the cost is tacky. Stannon B says, so you stole then vandalized a family heirloom passed down to her by a recently deceased relative. Her mum even gently cautioned you against doing what you did. You're the arsehole, and quotes, I just think it's disrespectful considering how much money and thought went into it, and then says, and separately you're the arsehole for this too. Disrespectful is vandalizing a family heirloom. And one more from J Crystal, who replies to that comment saying, unless the band was a fully Eternity Diamond band that totals a significant carat weight, or girlfriend's fingers are massive, there is no way that band cost a lot of money, compared to having to buy the center stones as well. If you think this was expensive OP, then clearly one of the reasons you stole her grandmother's diamonds is that you were cheap. Also, asking her mum when it was your girlfriend's ring from her grandmother and ignoring the caution shows how little you understand the significance of the ring as an heirloom or respect your girlfriend. Even if her mum thought it was a great idea, it was your girlfriend's ring. She alone gets to decide what to do with it. If I were your girlfriend, I would demand that you repair the ring and then call off the wedding. You can have the money from the band back. If you treat her this way even before marriage, I shudder to think what a terrible partner you would be. Again, holy moly with baubles on top. But what do you guys make of this one? How would you react if you was given an heirloom by a family member, your partner took it, turned it into something else that thought that you may like it? How would you react to that? Is it a forgivable mistake? Would you like it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you for spending 20 to 30 minutes with me today and getting involved in the channel, in the stories. Liking the video, subscribing, it all massively helps out, and I can never thank you enough for what you do. Honestly, guys, I know I say it a lot, but it really does mean the absolute world to me. I've had a blast reading for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.